Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Saturday, September 25th, 2021, and today's topic is called Sky Candy 2. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening September 22nd through the 24th, 2021, and this is show number 119. And here's an alternate cover slide. I was toying once again of which one to go with to present today, so I hope you enjoy them both. And before we get into the sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, guten dag, and good day. And I every so often just put in here too, if I haven't covered a language in the country wherever you're from, wherever in the world you're watching this, and it's not covered by English or you'd like it to be more specific, just let me know and I'll include your greeting the next go round. All right, now we have the Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day page, and today it's going to be about Rhodonite, and it is a manganese silicate, and I'll let you read along too. I'm just going to go ahead and read it anyway in case people aren't watching the screen and are going about and just listening to this as audio. So it's a manganese silicate, and it's manganese, iron, magnesium, and calcium, and a few other things. The etymology is that it derives from the Greek word rhodon, which means rose. So because the rhodonite is rose color, salmon color, it goes into a little bit of the reds and some black and deep browns, burnt umber type of colors, striations in it. So it's also aligned with the chakras for the heart and the root or base, and it aligns with planet Venus. The element is Earth. The vibration is number 9. And I've listed the sites of where I've pulled some of that information from. Now, how to work with Rhodonite. These ideas are coming from a website called spiral11.com. And it just talks about how to incorporate Rhodonite with daily life, kind of tapping into some of its healing and metaphysical properties. So they suggest a few different things. I'm just going to read them straight out. One is to meditate with it on your heart chakra and sense your own feeling of self-love being nurtured and nourished. Carry some Rhodonite when working on developing a skill or talent, or when in the process of sharing such talent with the world. Can also work with it by hovering it in a clockwise manner over swollen or inflamed joints. And I just want to add too, you can also just hover it in a way that feels right to you. So they recommend clockwise, but obviously if it feels better to rotate it another way or hover it in a different manner, that's fine too, whatever feels good for you. Also, they say to carry a piece with you when you feel like the energy of a situation would benefit from being more balanced. You can also wear it to promote self-love, especially after a breakup or when feeling alone and not feeling like you are quote-unquote enough. Stroke a polished stone or worry stone after having faced unsettling news or after a heavy interaction with someone. Or place a piece under your pillow at night to help you make sense of the meaning from some of your dreams. So that just seems like helpful advice. I haven't used this particular stone in those ways, but I do know that some of these crystals are indeed very powerful whether you are intentionally working with them or not. For example, I had a piece of bluestone from the Presley Mountains, the type that's employed in Stonehenge. And if you hear anything in the background, that was some thunder. I am recording outside today, so you might hear some outdoor noises. Just a little disclaimer. Anyway, I was not working with it. I didn't even realize it. I had a palm stone of bluestone, and I had just set it on my nightstand. I didn't even really think about it. And then in the week following that I just put it on the nightstand, I had some of the most incredible connected dreams. They felt very real and powerful, connected in with some ancestral stuff. And I didn't even know that was possible. So just be mindful if you bring home a crystal of some of the capabilities of what it can do and where you place it in and around especially around your head area, whether it's under a pillow or even next to you on a nightstand. All right, that being said, we're going to have a theme the theme of this show is it's working in with sky candy, so obviously a play on the term eye candy. Just kind of looking at things superficially or some things that are just so attractive and pull our attention away very superficially, right? And tying it in also in with Rhodonite and feeling stuff in with the heart space. And also just to look past what your physical eyes are seeing. So I love always, my go-to on the quote from Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi is, your eyes can deceive you, don't trust them. And that plays in this, to this whole thing too with eye candy, sky candy. You know, what we see with our physical eyes is one thing, but what we just feel and sense, obviously with like that spidey sense, as they say, the sixth sense, or, you know, like what an animal has. They can feel you approaching from, you know, many, many feet away, and they can tell if you're friend or foe just based on what your heart space is emanating out with the electromagnetic, you know, field, you know, going out from it. And supposedly, tactily, you know, humans and animals can definitely feel something easily 25 feet, you know, coming 25 feet away. And that's what your, you know, field, your energetic field is projecting outward. So the point is that we sense things long before we can even see them with the physical eyes, whether we're conscious of it or not. And on tandem with this whole idea is also we are going through a massive, a great deception right now, including a huge numbers game. Yes, I'm talking about what's going on with the quote-unquote virus. All of those numbers, if you did some basic math calculations, no matter what region you're in or what part of the world you were in, you will see they're vastly misreporting and willfully deceiving everyone, because if you just did a basic calculation, there is no way the numbers that they are saying are actually what's occurring as far as deaths and even as far as illnesses, you know, from it. So if you just look around and compare with who you know or what's going on around you, you can just see, you know, it just doesn't work. And so numbers are very easy to deceive people with, playing a numbers game. Also colors, you know, you throw out some nice colors and that starts to affect somebody on a very tactile level and a very subconscious level. There were studies back in the day, well, the obvious one is like red incites hunger, so it's no accident that a lot of restaurants and things, they have their red and white tablecloths and they have anything to do with red to get you to, you know, be hungrier, stimulated, and order more. You know, it just taps into your basic primitive, you know, reptilian sense of your brain. Like, let's just get them on the instantaneous reaction that they don't even, you know, people don't even realize is going on. And also there was some studies decades ago where they painted prisoners prison walls pink just to kind of keep people in a numbed out state, like, you know, kind of just dazed. And so these things are used all the time on a subconscious level out in society, in the world. And so no different than what's going on with these numbers. And then on top of it, you add in numerology and people who have malintentions and mind control, you know, in mind. They use the power, you know, of those numbers too in all of the media reporting. So, you know, big favorite is like number 33. They'll throw out that a lot, or number 6, anything with 6 in it, 600, whatever. You know, you start to see these patterns and it starts to be very predictable. Anyway, and, you know, very old. That game is very old, of the numbers game. Also, obviously, there's a numbers game being played on all of the YouTube sites right now, pretty much. Even mine, they're lopping off like, you know, 50 views, you know, were just suddenly missing from last night to today, in addition to like 60 the day before. And so they're just like lopping, you know, haphazardly, whatever, randomly, big chunks of numbers off, and also taking away likes and all of this. So I'm not complaining about that. What I'm actually looking at that is it's happening for me, not to me. You know, my initial is, oh, you little flippity flips, why are you doing that? You know, these, obviously, I value all of you so much who are watching this channel. And if you've even found this channel, just know that's not by accident, and it's very special. I consider this a very wonderful group here. I don't even have a sense of exactly how many people are even watching this. I know it's far greater than, again, what the numbers are presenting, that numbers game. And I don't even care about that. I mean, I do care that you've put the energy behind, if you've liked, and you know, they've taken it away. I haven't obviously done any of that if it's not showing up. But what I want to say is thank you to each and every one of you for being here. And I feel your energy and your goodness. And so if there's anything of nefarious or malintent on this channel, you know, I just see right through you and past you, whether you're AI or a human doing mischief on my site. You know, it's not appreciated, but I'm going to go right through you and past you on this. So anyway, thank you to everyone for being here. And I know it's a little long roundabout intro once again, but thanks for staying patient if you stayed with me. And otherwise, let's get into the sky observations now. Okay, I got a little affirmation, or what I want to say. There's another word I'm thinking of. But anyway, the thunder just confirmed it's time to move through and look at the sky observations now. So if you're new or returning, again, heartfelt thanks for being here. Welcome. If you're returning, you may want to skip this bit. If you're new, I'm just going to give a brief intro of what I'm doing here on this site. So I just go around town wherever I am, mostly in Miami somewhere, and I look up at the skies over Miami. And I just notice really strange things have been going on and picking up increasingly overhead in the skies since especially 2018, but I started noticing things vaguely, I would say, in 2014, and I know there are other people that started really noticing things kicking off like 2010, 2012. But anyway, that's all to say there's just some really strange anomalies, color signatures, weird things going on with the sun. Do look at the whole concept of a solar simulator, an artificial sun I covered on previous shows. Go look at other Earth and sky watching channels all over YouTube where there's other people just like yourself and myself going around wherever we are in the world and looking up and just directly observing some very odd things going on. And especially if you've been on the planet for more than a few decades, you really see glaring, like literally glaring examples of how things have changed. And so anyway, I'm also noticing when you look in the lower right-hand corner, I put strange cloud activity in quotes. Cloud is referring to, I'm seeing a lot of cloaking craft. And what I mean by cloaking craft can be 3D, something you could theoretically walk up to, touch it, knock on it. Or it could be something very interdimensional, where it's kind of phased, looks very ghost-like, ephemeral, kind of looks like it's phasing in and out of state. Or it could be something 3D, an object that's phasing in and out of state. When I say craft, it could be a manned or personed actual craft that you could, maneuver. Or it could be some other kind of object or tech, instrumentation, sensors, who knows what. It just depends on the size and the exact nature of the details of some of these things that I'm capturing in my photos. Now, I'm just using a camera phone, and I invite each and every one of you to go out and look up. That's it. Look up when you're coming and going about your daily business, or going for a walk, or going to a car, or going to a bus stop, or wherever. Just look up and take a good 360-degree look around and do it a few times a day. It only takes a couple seconds really to do that. And then if you do have a handheld device or something, just go ahead and start taking pictures. Also, especially if you don't see something with the actual naked eye, but you just sense something feels weird, just doesn't feel quite right or just a little off. And it doesn't have to be in a negative way. Just something just feels amiss, and just take a picture. Then later, more often than not, you can even look at your handheld device later and go inside wherever you are. And then you'll start to see things like pop up in the photo you didn't realize with your naked eye, but then you see it show up on your photo. I invite you to do that. Now, what I do is take those photos, and then I take it a little bit further, and I do what's called enhancements, and I simply take the image, and I only tweak the levels up or down a tiny bit on the attributes of the photo, such as contrast, brightness, color saturation, and that's really about it. Sometimes the temperature. Just move the levels up and down a little bit, and then bam, you just see a whole new world of stuff happening up in the photo that you didn't quite capture before. You kind of sensed it maybe, but you didn't quite see it with the naked eye. Anyway, that's about all I'm going to say for now. I'll cover the rest as I move through the show. The one last thing I'll say is in this little intro is when I'm talking about craft, yes, I'm talking about something that is advanced ET, extraterrestrial technology, more often than not. I don't think I've really seen any examples of what I would consider just to be solely human constructed or human ET collaboration. And that's all I'll say for now. There's also going to be some supernatural type phenomenon, things like that I call air wisps or sky wisps or air elementals. Some people have called them sylphs. Things that might be of a little bit more of a otherworldly phenomenon that we can't also quite pinpoint what's going on maybe. And some of those might show up in this show as well. Anyway, let's get going. So this is just one scene looking south toward the morning hours. And here's with some enhancements. So we see this totally different color signature happening up here. So the sunrise would be coming up to the left of this screen. And so we're seeing some glimpses of some of those color ranges. But then how are we getting, this really intense, blue, white, color signature? We got a weird smudge out here at 8.1. It's a totally different color, like a beige, white, gray, while we've got all this extraordinary color happening in here. We have a strange little object happening there at B.1. Anyway, I'm going to keep moving along and not spend too much time on some of these. I may fly through faster, on some slides than others. I invite you to go back when you're able to play it back and spend more time on any one of these to see what you can see. I'm dropping in letters, just occasionally to kind of just highlight the key points that I see that pop out at me so I don't miss those. But clearly there's going to be a whole lot more going on in any given photo, and I can't possibly tag it all. So like here, this could be a cloaking object with some like plasma cloaking material wafting over it. Oh, and that I didn't cover in the intro. I'm going to refer to plasma as cloaking material for these things, just because I'm referring to something that's denser than water vapor or cloud material that can linger in the sky a long time and cloak things well. Okay? Anyway, let's move along. So we have this side by side. So the left is the original. It's going to be typical pattern through the show. And the right's the enhanced version. So this was just strange as far as the overall configuration. It's kind of loosely put together here. We have elements that are curving around with like a clean gap, between these two elements. And they are, kind of similar as they start off at the bottom and then they do different things toward the top. But then we also have different movement that like starts to level out horizontal. So no typical cloud formation of a cumulus type is going to have things, kind of moving along dead, even horizontal, and then go up vertical. So I'm flagging that as potential cloaking craft. Now there's going to be more examples coming up that are more obvious than others for the cloaking craft. Okay, this one just caught my attention looking south again because here's this peak, a very specific triangular form in the sea of nothing else that looks like it. And so with enhancement, more is revealed. So obviously we see this element popping up. There might be cloaking, bigger body, like this could be almost like a dorsal fin, if it were like a shark or a dolphin. So this could be part of a bigger body that's cloaking behind here, or it's a standalone element, I'm not sure. But then we also have this weird fuzz out of, just something with a straight line here, more or less straight across here. It looks like a rectangular form that's bulging at the bottom and the top. So to me, that looks very much like a, rigid geometry in its own right and symmetrical. So I'm going to talk about that a lot whenever I see something that's symmetrical or like an equilateral triangle. Sometimes I've been seeing hexagonal forms, octagonal forms, pentagonal forms. Those aren't, obviously occurring natural in a natural sky. So it implies, more than implies, it's kind of like a neon arrow pointing to it, that there's some type of tech involved, technology. So here at C and B here, this, looks like an element 2 that's part of a bigger element that's cloaking. So we've got a line this way, very straight and even. A line this way, it's pitching downward. This thing is doing its own thing. This is coming level across horizontal. We just don't have that in a normal natural cloud system blowing across, that you have so many different movements and motions, especially, and look at this is coming this way. If you follow my cursor, very low in altitude. Like this is extremely low. It's just, not even a couple 100 feet above the treetops here. And then at 8.1, we have, you can see it. It's a triangular form. There's some striations cutting across, helping it cloak a bit. So, pure straight line here, angle here, angle here. And again, no triangular forms occur naturally in the clouds, at least none that I know of for living decades on this planet. And I've lived all over the world. And I've, studied skies my whole life on a certain level. Never seen that before. Anyway, let's move on. So now looking south too, look at this. I look in the distance and I see this weird form. Look at that. That's so rigid and perfectly symmetrical. And then there's a weird form here too that looked pretty solid with a straight line kind of perched on this whatever's going on here. So you better believe we're going to look at this with an enhancement. Also, I started to see a tip of a triangle here. So here we've got this triangular form in shadow down here. This starts to be like a filigree ball of some kind. Really weird. Look at this perfect curve. This outline just doesn't happen with a natural cloud assembly. And this is looking like something solid perching on here. So I'm going to call that cloak and craft. This overall thing may be. I'm not even sure what's going on here. This too, it's either cloak and craft or some type of technology. And then look at 8.1. We're going to zoom in on that a little bit more. Look how perfect it is. Here it is at 8.2 zoomed in. So that's got to be tech of some type, or if not a cloak and craft in and of itself. Then here's this filigree or filigree ball form I was talking about. Look how perfect this curve is. And then, this is also something with intelligent design to it. That's not a haphazard cloud. Neither is this. It's like, jewelry, like the prongs coming up around a stone almost. So then we're looking at C.2, and again, we see that is a triangular form. But as I say with any of these, see what you think is going on. What's interesting too is look at this pure curve and this pure curve going out this way. It's very stick-like. We have a little triangular shape too in profile here. Little, triangular bits popping out all over the place. And down here, this looks like actually a stick here and a stick here. They're both parallel. So that looks like we're just seeing machine parts popping up out of this cloud that belong to something else. We got reflection going on it. We got some dimension and shadow in there. So that's what I'm going to say. You're going to hear me like a broken record in all of these, like every slide, like cloak and craft, cloak and craft. But that's what I'm seeing. See what you think, though. Okay, here, this is also looking south, and this is actually, these are 4 white ibis in flight, heading south-southeast. And so what caught my attention here was this kind of very white, pure white form emerging. And I talk about it on other shows. Whenever I see pure white, whether it's like this or smoky looking or crystalline, sometimes I see even crystalline triangular forms and stuff. And the background beyond them is all gray or all a monochrome color. It tells me, watch out, there's something happening there and something involving advanced tech. So when I look at it with some enhancement, I still see it's pure white, and there's no reason why just this little area would be pure white in this part of the sky. So I got to believe there's something brewing there, so to speak. And when I look at it, further, I see a pointed ellipse here with a different color signature. It's a little green-gray compared to all the blue beyond. And same thing happening here and here. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft multiples happening in on this scene, and especially something happening in here. I'm not exactly sure what. But we got a long tubular form happening beyond there that looks like it's beyond cloak, or it's part of a chunkier thing. This is definitely like a cloaking band in front of it. Anyway, see what you think. Again, I look at direction, movement, I look at trails and trajectory behind some of these things, and the plasma. So like here we've got something wafting down here. It looks like this chunk like just lifted up off of this section of quote-unquote cloud. I've seen that with some other examples too in other shows happening. Especially one called Rising Salmon. You see that effect. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm looking south-southeast again, and I see this weird thing, on edge. It's very thin, and it's completely its own animal. So it's dark, there's nothing else like it in the sky, and there's some strange movement happening below it. It's like a billowing. It's not like there's rain or vapor. It's something else happening. So that definitely caught my attention, along with this thing happening, looking like being veiled behind some particulate. And none of this felt like real cloud. It felt very artificial. And even the way it's pitching down, this like mass just seems very, very artificial in composition. So here we go. I start to see something here, which is interesting because this down below looks like it has a distinct pattern happening, a regularized pattern. So I think that is a cloak and craft of some type. Then we look at B.1. It's holding true with its darkness and just weird billowing cloud activity. Totally different from anything else happening in the skies happening below. So I'm going to say this is because this is cloak and craft happening. And also, I just wanted to mention, because this is like wafer thin on the profile and the side view, I did mention in other shows too, for any gamers out there or people interested in video games, online gaming, somebody brought to my attention, there's one called Eve, EVE, and in that game, my gosh, you look at their catalog of different ships and craft that they have, and a lot of them, very intricate, so it tells me somebody who's doing that game is kind of in touch or plugged into other knowledge, let's just say, that's very relevant. But anyway, a lot of their craft model types, have a very thin profile on the side, so it just reminds me of this. And we're going to zoom in one more time just to kind of see if we can get any more clues, like what is going on below this thing and even what this thing is. And I don't get to too much more other than I started seeing another parallel line emerging under this with the naked eye, and here it is here. And, I don't really get at what more is going on, but that's not natural. There's no natural formation of this in the sky. So I gotta say that's also part of cloak and craft activity. And then here we're looking off to the southeast again, and look at this. We've got a triangular, like an oblique flattened triangle. At the bottom of this, once again, I'm going to say artificial particulate veiling, quote-unquote, cloud mass. So we start to see like little bits and pieces. It's a little grainy because my camera could only do so much at this range and with this level of lighting. But look at, we got a straight line. We got straight corners, poking here and here. Something here, something else kind of coming down off of this thing. So once again, I'm calling it cloak and craft. See what you think. Okay, then this was just interesting. Looking off to the southeast, we have all these like billowing clouds, which aren't typical cumulus clouds. Some of them look a little cumulus in form, but again, I'm going to call this artificial assembly, and it's also insanely low in altitude in the sky. We've got a weird formation happening at B, and then we have a totally different animal, so to speak, a totally different cloud type, just sitting right over here. Now keep in mind, where I'm taking these photos, it's subtropical to tropical Florida and South Florida. So nothing forms in these flat striations this low in the atmosphere. We're not talking, if there's any air movement, which there wasn't this day, it's just going to be not very fast and moving across. It's very hot and humid, and so we wouldn't have something forming like this. I also start to see some difference in the thickness and whatever's happening here looking like cloak. And so we're going to look at this with enhancement. And here again, B.1 is like doing its own thing. It's like falling apart with consistency. It's not like a true cumulus cloud. And I start to see a point in there. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft happening in here, maybe here as well. And then look at this thing I missed before it perched. We got a little thing perched on the tip here. Perfect line, straight edge, symmetrical. So that's something, some kind of tech happening right there. And then, we look here. Look, there's something that looks like it's lifting off here, like a pointed elliptical form, separating from whatever this cloud cover is. But then getting back to this one, the elephant in the room here, the 8.1, look at this. We start to see design and texture. We got a little hole here, depression. We see a straight line with shadow and reflection on the top. So I'm calling this cloak and craft of some type. We also get these ripple waves coming off of it. They're all parallel. So that suggests that this thing is emitting some energy. And what I like to say is with these cloak and craft, I suspect it's electromagnetic wave energy coming off of these things. I don't know if it's just inherent to the system of the craft of how it propels itself, or whether that's an intentional form of cloaking method to disturb the atmosphere. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm calling that cloak and craft for sure at 8.1. Then looking off to the southeast, you see these little bits, pieces of things. But what caught my attention is this straight line diagonal. It's like really perfect. Things are stepped along it, but they're straight and linear, following that line. So to me, this looks like a group of craft potentially. So we look at it with some enhancement, and here we go. Here's this longer element. Looks like it may dive down this way. And then this darker, stuff. Very linear, very parallel to each other. Look at these fragments. Couldn't be any more straight and stick-like, if you tried. And again, that's not a natural forming cloud. And so I'm calling that cloak and craft. All right, now we're going to look to the east, and this is at a sunrise. And what caught my attention once again was that this is not typical. This is not the profile, the edge line of a typical cumulus cloud. And again, I'm familiar with this area for many decades of my life, and growing up, I never saw stuff like this. So we got like a stick-like thing coming off here. This thing is kind of loosely disintegrating, doing its own thing, but it has a very specific like peak, triangular-like shape to it. There's a little thing, looks like it's springing off here in a totally different direction than this weird angle that looks very artificial. So this whole thing had an artificial feel to it, the construction of this quote-unquote cloud. Then we have this thing just doing its own thing in between these two things. So look at again, a very stick-like thing at the front. So I'm calling that a cloak and craft at B. So we look to the right-hand side. Probably should have spent more time on this side, but anyway, this is the enhanced version where we really can see some of these strange little bits and pieces and anomalies that aren't part of a typical natural cloud construction. And then here we go. We see this really stick-like thing with some shadow below it. This is looking like, a straight line off I'm assuming is the back of this thing. Looks very much like a little shuttle. There's even little pieces, things like this, alongside it, like companion things or instruments or scout technology. Who knows? See what you think. Okay, then we get to this looking east. It's actually east-northeast, but I noted a rainbow here down below, which is weird though because it looked like it was going into nothing, and it was a little suspect because this whole thing, it just screams artificial cloud, like cloaking cloud. So you look at the edges, it's all fuzzy. It looks very vapor-like, very particulate-like. That's no natural cloud. Again, I know this area for decades. Little weird things kind of popping off on the perimeters. We're going to take a look at this thing, this kind of sky imprint coming down on an angle, all very strange. So we're going to look at it with enhancement, and we start to see, look at these edges. They're like corners of triangular forms in the void, here too. And then we've got that weird little hole or imprint happening over here. And looking at D.1, so we see that rainbow, and it just kind of dies into this, which looks like another bigger sky imprint. Kind of looks like an echoing companion buddy to whatever's happening over here. And then C.1 itself, oh, here comes the rain if you hear it in the background, getting a thunderstorm. Here is like a bigger, what do I want to say, just kind of like whatever this mass is, looks like it has a different consistency than what's going on with this pure white thing above. And there was nothing in the lighting, the natural, quote-unquote, natural lighting in the sky to make such a distinction with this weird shadow. Anyway, let's move on. So then we look to the north, and we're looking at A, B, and C. Let's jump to the right-hand side. So, well, actually, stay on the left for a minute. So this looks like overall like one beautiful wispy sky wisp formation. We look on the right-hand side, and we see it's like made up of several parts and pieces. Just looks really strange. So that's why I'm calling it A.1 and B.1, because they seem to like split apart into two pieces. And then C, is kind of doing its own thing. So is this an object being cloaked at sea, or is the real thing to look at what the sky imprint is happening here beyond? I'm not sure. See what you think. Then we're going to look at this artificial cloud with the rainbow happening below, and look at, we just have some oddities happening all around here, really. And we're going to zoom in on A, I think, next. Yeah, nope, not yet. I think after this one. But anyway, just noting different color signatures of what's happening around here. And I did flag, specific areas. Just have a look on those on your own time if you get a chance. So here we're going to move in on that area A. I'm going to go back a second. See, we're looking at this part. And this was the one I wasn't sure, too, if the real thing to look at is this, like, imprint here. Is there like a bigger craft making these triangular points, at the edges? Or is there stuff happening right within here? So let's look at the A.1 turns to A.2 because we're zooming in and putting more enhancement on the photo. And look at this. We have like little pieces. That's a triangular shape, an elongated triangle. Very clear. Straight edge here with a corner. And then look at these two prongs popping out. I don't know if these belong to something cloaking here beyond, or if these are just, independent little things, moving along with their own little, vapor trail behind. This thing is coming in almost perpendicular to this line, so that's not a natural cloud formation any way you slice it. But see what you think is going on. Then, of course, we have this mysterious burst of activity happening up here. See what you think could be happening with that little story. Then we're going to move toward the left of where we were on the photo, meaning toward the north more. And I started to notice this happening at the top of this cloud, quote-unquote, cloud assembly. And I noticed, it was doing its own thing. There was a lot of energy. I could feel the energy bursting off of this thing. We look to the right-hand side, and we start to see something is moving around like in a halo or disc-like, ring-like formation there at the top. So I thought, let me watch this. Now, this is an example. I was going to and from about my business, and so I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to get going. I have to drive somewhere, but let me see if I can see this somewhere else in the city and keep tabs on it. And so I did, and many minutes later, I kept looking at the top of this cloud, and look at this. You can see these perfect concentric rings, all parallel, like, emanating out of this thing. So there's definitely some kind of energy burst, definitely some type of intelligent activity happening in there, whether it's, rigid tech or some type of supernatural phenomenon. But I'm supposing that there is a cloak and craft going on in here, kind of in this shape if you follow my cursor. That's just kind of, energizing, let's just say, the top of this cloud and sending out those waves. Then we look at something like D here, and it's like weird. It's its own little cloud, and it's got parallel lines coming on it. This is doing its own thing. It was just such a weird scene. So I put enhancement on it just to really look at those rings clearly. You can't deny those babies. And then look more at D.1. Like, what is that? It's a totally different animal from anything else happening in this scene. So, and that, again, we're going to take another look at those rings. They were fascinating. Can't get at too much more what's going on, but, look at this one again on your own and see what you think could be happening with this little story. All right, then we're going to go back looking to the south, and again, I just looked at this weird particulate that just felt very artificial, not like a real, bona fide rainstorm of decades past. Additionally, I want to mention that with a lot of this artificial stuff, it might drop rain, actually, like what's happening now if you hear it, but you can't, now you can hear it, you can hear the thunder, but you can't smell the storm coming anymore. Like when I was younger growing up and we spent like 10 hours a day outside every day, You could smell the rain coming. You could, smell the earthiness and the connection of what was about to pour from the above and the earth. And now you don't really smell it anymore. I can name the times like on one hand in the past 5 years where I could actually smell the storm. That's just a little side note for any of you others who have been on the planet for a while. You may have noticed that change as well. All right, so back to these images. The left-hand side just looked weird because we had this artificial stuff happening, and then this stuff happening along, the edges, the straight line. And then we look to the right-hand side and we see, look, what is this? These look like actual forms, that have solidity to it and intelligent design. Look how clear this is. It's like a splayed disc. That's a very clear edge, curved, and it goes around this way. So I'm saying that is definitely a craft or both of these might be part of one bigger craft, or they might be independent, individual craft. Then we've got this thing doing its own thing down here at D.1. So again, I've got to say this is riddled with intelligent, design. I'll let nature or artificial nature speak with that one. But I'm going to say this is riddled with craft or, advanced technology. All right, now this one, again, similar, like we've got this weird thing floating up and changing direction. We've got this going kind of on an angle, then this suddenly curving up and coming back down. We've got a weird ethereal light quality happening in the backlighting situation here, so it tells me something is brewing up in this cloud as far as artificial tech. We've got a straight line coming straight up here, and then we have these weird things that are parallel to each other, and we have a very ragtag, artificial looking profile on this quote-unquote overall cloud stuff. So we look with some enhancement and bam, look at B.1. We get this burst of energy, of light. This was not lightning, flashing, or anything. This is just the standard state of whatever's happening behind all of this veiling particulate. And then we see this weird movement, this curved thing. This is curving up this way. Again, this line coming this way in line with this kind of burst of light. And so to me, there's definitely something artificial happening up in here involving advanced tech. And I'm going to say there's something cloaking behind this that's creating all of this. And maybe something else happening over here independently. Now we're going to look down at C.1. We got like this wishbone figure. So we're going to look at it. C.2 zooming in. That's also some type of cloaking technology, because look at this. We've got a straight stick coming here with a highlight portion here that's white. And remember what I said about something being white against a background that's monochromatic. Here we have it. So that tells me there's some type of tech going on as well. Hang on, I'm going to unplug my laptop because now I have lightning, whether it's natural or artificial. It still might do damage to the circuitry. Okay, oops, hang on 1 second. There we go. Okay, so look at this thing. So this looks very much to me like it's some type of artificial, tech or ET, advanced craft cloaking. And same thing here. We've got cloaking material around something denser. It's completely, in line, parallel with this thing. This looks a little different in form, but it's still more or less parallel to letter D. And look at this thing. I'm not sure if this is part of one thing. Hang on. I'm not sure. It's nice to hear actually really hearty thunder and see lightning again. It's been a while. Anyway, here we go. I'm not sure if this whole thing is part of one thing or these are several different elements, but look at E. It's surfacing, it's darker, it's totally different than anything going around above. And so I'm going to say this is all part of cloak and craft. I think I have something else agreeing with me. Anyway, here we go. In this scene, I hope you can see why this caught my attention. Not only do we have a a very strange staggered overall assembly that looks nothing like a typical cloud that you could, point out in a book from decades past as a cloud type. But look at this. We've got these things coming on angle, this thing coming off to the side like this, like two totally different directions of these things. That's level and that's coming on an angle, and something strange is happening off to the side. But look at F. This thing is completely level. And, we got parallel movements in there. So, how do we have this coming across horizontal and then this coming down, not perpendicular, but, an angle to it? It's such a sharp angle. In nature, in a cloud system, the answer is that doesn't happen. And again, it was a flat day, meaning there was no wind, nothing to see as far as, different movements that could possibly be creating that in the sky, other than These must have forces and movements of their own by their own power and technology. And so with enhancement, we get a nice red-pink burst of color, while we have a golden burst down here. And so that tells me there are two different things generating two different power, types of energy signatures off of these things. Do look at my description box below as far as what, wait a minute. Do look at my description box below as to what could be causing the red-pink color signature. And otherwise, I think it's just being generated by these independent, look at A, B, and C as being independent craft, and F kind of creating their own color signatures. When we look at D.1, that's a triangular form, pure and true. B.1, if you look at the bluish color, it's being masked by some cloaking material that looks more plum in front of it, but that's overall a triangular form as well, and things are happening off to the side. So, and then look at this weird stray odd man out coming off here. So I'm going to call this all, multiple cloaking craft. Then we're going to take a look at it a little bit more, and it's a little fuzzy and bitmappy, but you can just see these are independent elements, doing their own thing. Look at this, it starts to take on an overall triangular form this way. So again, is this one solid thing or multiple parts and pieces of things? You be the judge. Alright, then we're going to look to the south and back to like weird glow, like a whiter, luminescent glow happening that caught my attention. And then on top of it, we get these weird, movements. This is going this way, this is coming down an angle. Again, I'm going to pause for the sky. Then we have D, looks more triangular in form, some weird thing happening off at E. And we look at it with enhancement, and here we go. We have totally different color signature happening down here where we see all of the activity, compared to up here. And it's a pure curve. So again, there's no light source even supposed to be happening at the direct south like this. If anything, it would be happening way off to the right-hand side of the photo to the west. So anyway, once again, I'm suspecting cloaking craft activity. We're going to look at this, I think, one more time. No, we're not. Sorry. I think we get to it later. Anyway, now we're going to look to the north. And this just looked weird. To the naked eye, this looked wedge-shaped, very triangular shape. And then something weird happening up here. So to the right, we see with enhancement. This is why I felt it was weird. Look at this. We do have a triangular form. See, we have agreement. That's a triangular form. No question. Then we have like this arm-like thing with these appendages, almost like, fingers or something curling over. Looks like from a horror film, but, I didn't have any bad vibes from this thing, but it just looked weird. So jury's out on this. I'm going to leave a big question mark on what the heck is going on there. Okay, now we're going to look to the south in the morning hour, and, I noticed something happening. I know better by now that when we have white, standalone, nothing else going on, it could be cloak and craft. So we look to the right, and I start to see these holes. This looks like a little tube with holes at each end. It looks like a little vapor trail coming down here. Something's going on in here, but I'm not sure what. Anyway, it was interesting. I wanted to share it, see what you think is going on there. Okay, this was interesting too, looking west in the morning, about 11, not quite 11:30 in the morning. And I saw this at A, which I thought at first, that's a chemtrail or a chemical trail formed by humans or human collaborating with something of malintent for the skies. But then these aren't normal clouds. They just looked weird and falling apart and strange and consistency. So when I got to the enhanced version on this, I'm like, you know what? I think this was not man-made, this trail, but something else. So it's either ET made or something supernatural, because look how we have this demarcation line where no fuzz out is happening above, but it's happening all below. So I'm saying this is ET tech, something advanced, which is shooting out like a different kind of mist below it to hide these shapes. Look at this. We have a triangular form, triangular imprint here, and a triangular imprint there. And so I think this didn't feel like human artificial tech. This felt like something else. And again, it didn't feel bad. It was just like, what is that? That's why I'm sharing it. Okay, now this one I just want to spend time on C. Whoa, sorry I had a large flash of lightning. I'm still here, hang on. Okay, I'm still here. So we're going to look at C, because this started to look like a little shuttle to me. Like this is the front, like little wing, on the side and a little tail in the back end. And so we look with enhancement, and here we go. In the front, we have 2 holes that are symmetrical. One on one side, one on the other, and that tells me there's intelligent design involved there, and there's a pure hole back here as well. And we got weird little bits happening, and it's just standalone, and it looks too perfect. We got a straight line, we got a straight triangular form here, and here as well. So that's got to be intelligent design, no question. I'm going to zoom in on it. Sorry, I forgot I had a zoomed in version. So look at these, look like a nostrils, like on the front of a nose, and a pure hole back here. So again, I'm calling this absolutely intelligent design involved. Got a little weird activity here. All right, this one we're looking south, and I see a clear imprint. It looks like a clear lemon shape, so to speak. Actually, I'm going to move along a little quicker in case I'm going to get zapped by a lightning bolt. Anyway, here we go. So this looks like a lemon shape with something, like a stick-like thing coming behind it. And look at these things traipsing in. This looks like the end of a tube, even. It's just really strange. You really, again, got to watch the movement of some of this stuff. When we've got stuff on angle, this is going perpendicular to that. And again, that wouldn't happen in a natural cloud system blowing over. Then these also look kind of suspect. Hope you can hear me. Sorry about the nature background, although it's fun again to hear it. We've got like a tubular thing cloaking, looks like back here and here. All right, I'm going to kind of move through. So 8.2, let's look to the right. 8.3, that's that thing we were just looking at. And then we look up above and see what else is going on. So, it's easy just to get fixated on one little detail, but you also got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture of what's happening around to get clues as what else might be cloaking. Look at B.3, that's a clear triangular form right there. C.3 looks like some type of cylindrical or drum-like shape. Then we get all of this like choppy fuzziness above, and I refer to that as staccato cloud. I think I'm the only one that coined that. I'm just throwing it out there. To me, it just is something, it reminds me of the atmosphere locally when it looks all choppy and fuzzy. Even to the naked eye, I just call that staccato cloud. And, and to me, what's causing that is cloaking craft above that area, or multiple cloaking craft that is sending out either electromagnetic waves or some type of frequency waves to really chop up the area to serve as another way to cloak multiple craft in one area is what I think is happening. Or it could also just be one bigger craft or one craft. Okay, now we're going to zoom in. Let me go back one. We're going to zoom in on this B.3 element because, it was such a clear triangular form. And here you see B.4, I hope you see what I'm seeing. Follow my cursor, that's the triangle, perfect triangle. And it even looks like it has like some type of vapor, something shooting out back here. C.4 starts to look triangular, or at least it has a very clean edge here. Have a look at this one to see what else you can find. There's a lot going on. All right, now we're going to look at this scene, and we have the original on the left, the right is the enhanced version, and we just get more views of these strange shapes hiding in the clouds, and I'm calling them cloaking craft because of their symmetry and the perfection of some of these forms that are, geometrical perfect. Okay, then we're going to look at a different area looking north in the sky, and I started to see this weird little imprint. It looks symmetrical once again. Look, we have a curve, a point, and a curve. This whole overall figure is symmetrical. And then I started to see like an incised form around it, and they're linked together. So I look to the right, and here we go. Just very curious anomalies in the sky. Once again, they have what I call the staccato cloud effect, or staccato cloud around it, all choppy and fuzzy. See what you think is happening there. I'm going to zoom in on that. Okay, I don't need any special effects for this show. We've got these, here's that clear ring. Look how perfect and symmetrical that is. And then it has like these 2 little strands, hopping onto this thing. So, and then we got this like perfect cutout here. And then this thing here. So anyway, I'm calling it cloaking craft. Look, we have a perfect curve happening here too. There's a lot going on in here. As I always like to say, I would love to see what's going on with these things without all the smoke and mirrors, so to speak, with all the cloaking material. Maybe we will one day start to see this stuff. All right, here's another view at some of these elements, you know, perfect triangular form, cloaking. And I think I'm going to zoom on it one more time. Yeah, here we go. Just odd, you know, just these things by themselves. You know, it just this even looks symmetrical, like some type of flower, you know, on the ground here. But this thing banks up this way. You know, there's just, this is like a perfect line. Just that's not typical clouds. Oh, this one's really interesting. This is looking to the north. So on the original, when you look to the left, I took the picture because I saw this weird crack of light, you know, and the weird patterning, you know, happening in with this quote-unquote cloud stuff. But I didn't see to the naked eye this perfect form here. It was really wild looking. So, and then this stream of something coming down from it perfectly straight. So look to the right. Look at this thing. It's like a turnip or something shape with all of this, like a top, like a spinning top on you know, inverted. But look at this thing. It's got this shape. It's got this weird texture, like cloaking it. And then look at this thing is like dipping down, and this is coming on a sharp angle. And again, we have this mysterious thing coming straight down. So, and then this crack of like bursts of energy happening above. This was not lightning. So this was like backlighting happening, whatever was going on. Really wild. So see what you think is happening there. And here we're zooming in on it. Look at this thing. This is like so intriguing. I can't believe it. Like, this is wild. Okay, so look at this. It's like coming across it like with such a deliberate pattern, I want to say, you know? And then we have this motion going this way. And I still don't know what's happening at D.2. If you have any fun ideas of what could be going on, let me know in the comment section below if you feel like it. If not, it's fine. But I'm just like, you know, I don't like to use the term mind blown, but I like to say mind expanded. This is just like really incredible. All right, now we're going to look at a scene to the south and just strange things happening here and there. So with enhancement, you know, I'm just going to show again, there's stuff that just seems like it has too much intelligent design behind it to be haphazard, and certainly not part of a regular cloud. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, left hand side is the original, right hand is the enhanced version. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you can see a pure curve here in a weird form that would never do that with a natural cloud. Well, we have this thing coming down at C. I'm not sure what's going on. You let me know on this one, see what you think. Also note the red-pink signature once again happening in there. All right, here we go. This just looked all over the place as far as what was going on in the sky. Here with enhancement, look at, we have these, you know, like rib cage-like things, you know, happening. Really strange. A.1, we have a triangular form. Look at D.1. What is going on? You know, this is intelligent design. Look at this weird thing. In no case can you call that natural cloud and be serious about it. So here we have like a lemon-shaped thing doing its own thing. Here's this weird, like, ribcage-like thing. Strangeness all over the place on this one. See what you think is going on. Straight line more or less here. Weird stuff curving down here. Can't be a normal cloud. Here's another view now looking northwest toward a sunset yesterday. And, you know, just noting these elements. I'm going to move along because the lightning is getting weird. But here we go. Look at the color signatures. And look at these forms happening in here. And then, looking to the southwest, still at the same sunset, I noticed that I could tell with the naked eye a pink glow, red-pink glow. And here we go. But look at this form work happening within it. Very bizarre. So that tells me there's absolutely something going on here. This looks like a triangular form, echoing like waves coming out in a triangular pattern. And I don't know what this is doing, but it's extremely interesting. And absolutely has to be artificial, you know, like advanced tech happening behind this thing, for sure. And here is the panorama. So what I was looking at, that area is over here. So just look at the strangeness happening. A lot of strange little things floating around. Look at the different bursts of energy signature here. This is white-ish. Then we got this pink-red out of nowhere. And the sunset is supposedly happening down here. So, you know, there's a lot of different color signature and bursts of activity happening for what's supposed to be a typical sunset. And then here's just with different contrasts and stuff on it to catch what's going on this side. So when I'm going to go back a step, I was capturing more what's going on here and highlighting it. And now we're going to look at what's happening over here. And look at this. So we have structure, we have parallel lines, we have triangular forms happening in there. Something of intelligent design is absolutely happening in there. And again, why would we have a red, pink ball like signature happening in here when the sunset is supposedly happening over here? Now, speaking of that red, pink ball, this is what I did want to have as the cover. Look how beautiful. And at 8.1, we get that signature, but look what's happening at B.1. This gets real interesting. Look at B.2. This continues on, and there's a total stick-like thing happening in here. What the heck is that? And this. That's all I'm going to say. What the heck is that? All right, hang on. Now, this is the one I put on the cover. It's called Sky Candy 2 because I have another show called Sky Candy, and it just reminded me of that. And then look at this form. This is something with intelligent design, like coming down in here. And this is echoing this curve. You know. So it looks like something with intelligence is happening here and here, again, to create this ball where nothing else like that other color signature is happening, except far to the right where the sunset would be happening. So once again, look at this and wonder and see what you think is going on. Oh, and as always, too, here's just another view of it, trying to get a little more detail of what's going on here at 8.1. As always, I'm presenting all of these things just to be fascinated by and wonder at, and just encourage you to take a look around you wherever you are and start to try to hopefully notice these things yourself too. These are happening anywhere on the map in the world. You look up and you're going to find stuff guaranteed. So enjoy doing that. And if there was anything that had a negative connotation to it or a bad feeling, I would let you know. But out of all of these things, this cloak and craft I'm observing, I've only had maybe a negative vibe twice in 3 years. And even then, it wasn't anything like, you just go inside and say, okay, we'll do this another time. All right, now we're going to look back to the northwest, and some two forms started emerging here at B, started to look very interesting. And over here at D, we have like a rim-like shape forming. And this overall thing at B looks like it is a vapor trail, like it came down out of this, again, artificial-looking mass cloud, particulate. Then we have with enhancement, we see what's supposedly the sunset happening down here below, but we get a white burst at C.1. And we start to see rigid shape here and formation that looks like it absolutely has intelligent design going on there. And happening at D.1, we get a very solid thing here. Look how perfect that curve is. And it looks like it's making like a hoop, like a basketball hoop. So is that like a jump ring or a portal? Looks like something is flying out of here. This little thing with a vapor trail. See what you think is going on in this scene. Also extremely intriguing. And it looks like we have an echo of a disc happening down here with a hole in it. So this actually could be all part of a cloak and craft beyond as well. And we get this weird thing, it has a rigid shape to it as well. Looks like it definitely has intelligent design involved with C.1 as well. And we're going to zoom in, again, with that one element. It's a little fuzzy, but you get the idea. There's a little more happening there that meets the eye. These little things are regularized and equidistant in spacing, so that shows intelligent design as well. And we're going to look at it one more view, I think. We got like weird activity, happening in front of it even. Just strange. And look at these lines start to emerge and go at different directions. And then now we're going to look at the rim. And here we go at D.2, and then D.3, you see it. And just strange stuff is happening down here below as well. And above. Look at this. This looks like a triangular form on angle, or like a letter A, a capital block letter A on angle. We see some dimension and shadow happening in there. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. Thanks a bunch for hanging around here a while, especially through this lightning storm we're having. But all is well, and hopefully for you too. And this is just a scene of multicolored grapes on the vine. It's an image I took from the web some time ago, so I give credit to whoever took it. It's beautiful, just gorgeous range that I hadn't quite seen before, and I just felt like this went with the show somehow. Anyway, it is Saturday where I'm at, so have a gorgeous now, above all. Have a beautiful weekend wherever you are. And above all, literally, above all, I wish all of you tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther, bye.